As many of you know, I have played the following clip of Bill Gates many times now.
Eventually, what we'll have to have is certificates of who's a recovered person, who's a vaccinated person, because you don't want people moving around the world. So eventually there will be sort of this digital immunity proof that will help facilitate the global reopening up.
I've also spoken about Covid Pass from the World Economic Forum, as well as a UK app called V-Health Passport. I've also played this clip from China.
In Hangzhou, to enter a tower block, you need to have your temperature taken and registered. And you must have an app on your phone into which you input your name, temperature, recent travel and ID number. The information generates a color code.
In Hangzhou, to go out of the community or to public activities, you need to have a green code. This green, yellow or red code is automatically decided through the system. It uses big data to decide whether you've been to affected districts or come into contact with those people.
But what if you're well and get a red code anyway? This man says he self-isolated while visiting Anhui province near Wuhan and back home in Shanghai. But there's no way to challenge the technology.
Our office building here, you need to register. You need to show the code to demonstrate that you're healthy. So when I was red, there was no way I could go to the office and work. I didn't do anything. Then after 2 or 3 days, I looked and suddenly it was green. I don't know why, but I think that although it's not really reasonable, it is still a preventative measure.
Well, the same kind of system is now coming to Ireland. An app for your smartphone that will include your COVID-19 test result status. This system will become the means by which people will be permitted to move around and engage in society. And when a vaccine becomes available, it will also display your vaccine status.
Health Passport Ireland is created to protect our society and our economy.
Problem, reaction, solution. A major economic and societal crisis is created. Everyone becomes terrified of a virus, so small businesses get shut down. Millions lose their jobs. But good news, here's the solution to keep us all safe and protected. If people can't see that this was the plan all along to get people into a digital population control network, they must be blind. This all reminded me of a document I mentioned before, from Q3 of 2019, several months before the Wuhan outbreak. It's from the European Commission, Roadmap for the Implementation of Actions by the European Commission based on the Commission communication and the Council recommendation on strengthening cooperation against vaccine-preventable diseases. Examine the feasibility of developing a common vaccination card/passport for EU citizens that takes into account potentially different national vaccination schedules and that is compatible with electronic immunization information systems and recognized for use across borders without duplicating work at national level. The roadmap takes place across 2018 to 2022, so there have been plans for systems like this for some time now. Let's get back to the video.
Built in Ireland by the RockU Group, the system uses the very best COVID-19 testing, combined with the latest mobile technologies.
The testing is garbage, of course, as we know, and the swabs find a lot of different coronaviruses that everyone already has, from colds, for example. False positives are the order of the day when it comes to COVID testing.
Health Passport Ireland is powered by proven and validated systems, allowing us all to take safer steps in our return to our normal way of life.
There's nothing normal about having to live in a technocratic dystopia where a human being requires a smartphone app to tell them if they have permission to go about their daily life or not. To conform to something like this is to live in a digital prison where someone else has the ability to determine what you can and cannot do.
Here's how it works. With Health Passport Ireland, everyone can now be tested for COVID-19 at any time.
And because an app like this one will probably become a requirement to simply go to work, attend large public gatherings, or, I would imagine, to just go to the shops, everyone is going to have to get tested in order to be able to display their test result status on the app on their smartphone. You may also notice that there's no mention of what people without a smartphone are supposed to do, and there's also no mention of what happens to elderly people who aren't very tech savvy. maybe they just get left behind.
which helps to protect you, your family, our jobs, and our economy.
So in my opinion, this bit of propaganda is how they play on people's emotions. In the same way that people scream about how you're selfish and putting people's lives at risk for not wearing a mask, it sounds like that's about to evolve into you're selfish and putting people's lives at risk for not getting tested and then proving your test results are clear with the Health Passport app. Also, the bit about the economy is very important. Listen to this statement again.
Which helps to protect you, your family, our jobs, and our economy.
In other words, if you don't conform to this new system, you're basically endangering lives, your family, our jobs, and the economy. So imagine, if you will, there's all these pubs around the country that want to reopen, and they can't reopen. But what if the government turns around and says, good news, you can reopen, and you can even scrap social distancing and all the other stupid rules. You just have to make sure that all of your employees and customers make use of a Health Passport app. I think many businesses will be so desperate to reopen, they may conform to this. You can see the guilt tripping and social reinforcement coming a mile away. The classic divide and conquer tactic. Governments will say that they can't permit a full economic reopening and end social distancing until everyone complies with this app. So, the people who refuse could be shamed and demonized by those who do. You selfish people who won't download a simple app and take a test. You're the conspiracy theorists and selfish people who are keeping people out of work. You're the ones keeping small businesses from reopening. You're the reason the economy is in the toilet, as opposed to looking at the government as the true enemy.
Your COVID-19 test will be performed with highly accurate serological or swab tests. Your test is performed by a medical professional.
Highly accurate! By the way, here's an article from Reuters. Coronavirus test kits used in Tanzania were dismissed as faulty by President John Magufuli on Sunday because he said they had returned positive results on samples taken from a goat and a pawpaw. And apparently a pawpaw, for those people who don't know, is a type of fruit. Here's an article from the New York Post from just a few days ago. NFL coronavirus testing debacle renders 77 false positives. The NFL had 77 positive COVID-19 tests from 11 teams re-examined by a New Jersey lab after false positives, and all those tests came back negative. The league asked the New Jersey lab BioReference to investigate the results, and those 77 tests are being retested once more to make sure they were false positives. So accurate, bro. So accurate.
After your COVID-19 test, an authorised healthcare administrator creates your Health Passport Ireland account. Your login details will be emailed to you immediately with a link to download your Health Passport mobile app. The authorised healthcare administrator securely updates your COVID-19 test results in your Health Passport. Once activated, you can easily display your COVID-19 status on your mobile. Your Health Passport can be scanned if you wish, which helps protect those around us.
As I've said before, the face mask was the first mandate and the first precedent set to acclimatise people to no longer having bodily autonomy, to get them used to following and obeying government guidelines, and that if they didn't comply, then there would be consequences. They wouldn't be able to go to certain places, work in certain situations, or get on public transport, etc. This serves to transition the populace into the next phase of mandation and control, which is health passports, such as this one. Then afterwards, the final phase of mandation and control, which is the vaccine. Failure to comply with each one of these mandates results in ostracization and marginalization from society. You're effectively a pariah. In addition, the logic will be that regardless as to whether a person is sick or not, whether they have symptoms or not, if they refuse to use a health passport, they will simply be assumed to be sick. No evidence is required. We're now at an extraordinary point in history where a person can no longer determine from their own subjective experience if they are ill or not. Only a government-approved COVID test can tell a person if they are in fact sick, which is to say, an asymptomatic carrier. If a person tests positive for COVID, or if a person doesn't get tested at all, they are essentially treated the same. The untested person is presumed to be infected. They will be told to quarantine and stay home under essentially house arrest against their will. even if they never present with symptoms during the entire quarantine period. This is utter madness, of course, but it's a madness that the vast majority of humanity succumbed to during the lockdown. It's odd because back in January 28th of 2020, before the pandemic was officially declared, Anthony Fauci said the following.
But the one thing historically people need to realize, that even if there is some asymptomatic transmission, in all the history of respiratory-borne viruses of any type, asymptomatic transmission has never been the driver of outbreaks. The driver of outbreaks is always a symptomatic person. Even if there's a rare asymptomatic person that might transmit, an epidemic is not driven by asymptomatic carriers.
This is certainly most odd because he also changed his tune on masks, as you know, saying that healthy people shouldn't wear them, and then they should. Obviously, some instructions have been changed during the course of this manufactured crisis.
Your COVID-19 status will efficiently display as green, amber or red, dependent on your test results.
You may notice that they don't mention what happens if a person comes back with a red positive result. There is no longer a need to do so, I suppose. The public have been trained in a sort of Pavlovian fashion already. They know what a positive test result would mean. Sorry, you can't get on the bus, you can't get on the plane, you can't do this, you can't do that, etc.
This allows us to go about our daily activities in a safer way. We can all use Health Passport Ireland in many ways, such as travel, hospitality, education, healthcare, construction, offices, entertainment, visits and much, much more.
In other words, if you want to do almost anything outside in the real world, you have to have this app. You have to have permission now. This effectively destroys an individual's sovereign human right to freedom of movement. They can only move around if they use this app. Basically, you're supposed to just trust what some test result and app tells you and live in constant fear of another positive result.
Naturally, the validity of your COVID-19 test will expire over time, so an automatic reminder will be sent when it's time to be tested again.
Just like a car test to ensure roadworthiness, now human beings must pass a regular test in order to be permitted to take part in society. Complete and utter totalitarianism, obviously. The future sounds like, hang on, I just need to check my phone to see if I'm allowed to go out.
Computer says no.
Your status will move to amber when your test period has expired. Health Passport Ireland does not use Bluetooth or track your location. This preserves your privacy.
Yeah, I'll just believe that. I'll just trust some company I've never heard of before. Like I should also believe that COVID-19 is the Spanish flu. Like I should just believe all the data models and the mainstream media. Like I should just believe that masks actually stop the spread of the virus despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
The systems can work in harmony with existing government contact tracing apps. When a vaccine becomes available, your official vaccination status can also be displayed within your health passport.
Eventually, what we'll have to have is certificates of who's a recovered person, who's a vaccinated person, because you don't want people moving around the world. So eventually there will be sort of this digital immunity proof that will help facilitate the global reopening up.
You can even keep a diary of your international travel and events you have attended. Health Passport Ireland can be linked to existing secure medical systems if required. For example, at your GP or hospital.
So, there you have it. The world of tighter top-down control, and indeed, control of the population. There is good news, however. The video in question has 2,900 dislikes at the time of making this video, and just 44 likes. Also, they don't appear to be big on people expressing their opinion on this product in the comments section, so the comments have been disabled, unsurprisingly. It's time to raise awareness of such technologies. Please spread the word and share this far and wide. Thank you. And remember, it's all just a conspiracy theory until it happens.